The moment you set a boundary without emotion, everything changes. Toxic people feed on reaction. They look for anger. They look for fear. They look for guilt. They look for confusion. They look for emotional noise because emotion gives them control. The calm boundary takes that control away. When you speak without shaking, without raising your voice, without explaining, without defending yourself, without trying to convince them, their power disappears. Not because you attacked them, but because you stopped feeding the dynamic they live on. A calm boundary feels different. It is not aggressive. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is simple. It is clear. It is firm. It is quiet. It is controlled. It sounds steady. It feels solid, it looks confident, and it changes how people treat you immediately. When you respond with emotion, toxic people feel strong. When you respond with calm, they feel uncertain. When you react, they feel in control. When you stay composed, they feel exposed. When you argue, they feel engaged. When you stay neutral, they feel disconnected. The boundary itself does not need to be long. It does not need a speech. It does not need an explanation. It does not need a story. It does not need proof. It only needs clarity and calm. Something simple, something direct, something steady, something final. I'm not available for this. Accept this behavior, this conversation. That doesn't work for me. This is where it stops. Short, clear, calm, controlled, no emotion attached, no anger in the voice, no fear in the tone, no shaking in the body, no pleading in the words. This is what changes everything. Toxic people are used to emotional reactions. They are used to tears. They are used to arguments. They are used to long explanations. They are used to guilt. They are used to manipulation. They are used to confusion. They are used to chaos. They are used to power games. They are not used to calm firmness. They are not used to someone who does not react. They are not used to someone who does not engage. They are not used to someone who does not explain. They are not used to someone who does not justify. They are not used to someone who does not fear them. A calm boundary shows strength without noise. It shows control without force. It shows power without aggression. It shows power without aggression. It shows confidence without ego. It sends one clear message. Access to you is not free, and control over you is not possible. The nervous system matters here. When you stay calm, your body stays steady. Your breathing stays slow. Your voice stays even. Your posture stays relaxed. Your eyes stay focused. Your energy stays grounded. This creates presence. Presence creates authority. Authority creates respect, not fear. Respect. Toxic people do not respect emotions. They respect control. They respect structure. They respect limits. They respect consistency. They respect certainty. Emotion shows vulnerability. Calm shows stability. When you speak from calm, your words land differently. They feel heavier. They feel final. They feel real. They feel serious. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to win an argument. You do not need validation. Boundary becomes the message. The mistake people make is trying to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding them. They explain, they defend, they justify, they argue, they repeat, they hope, they try again. They try harder. They invest more energy. That teaches disrespect. A calm boundary teaches clarity. Toxic people test limits. They push, they poke, they pressure, they cross lines, they watch reactions. They measure responses. They look for weakness. The calm boundary stops the testing cycle because there is no reaction to feed on, because there is no emotion, because there is no chaos because there is no access to. It feels uncomfortable at first. Silence feels heavy. Calm feels strange. Not reacting feels unnatural. Not explaining feels wrong, not defending yourself feels risky, but this discomfort is growth. Strength feels quiet, control feels still, power feels calm, confidence feels grounded. You are not being cold, you are being clear, you are not being distant, you are being firm. You are not being harsh, you are being honest. A boundary without emotion is not cruelty. It is self-respect in action. It protects your energy, it protects your time, it protects your focus. It protects your mental health, it protects your peace. It also changes your identity. You stop being the person who tolerates disrespect. You stop being the person who absorbs chaos. You stop being the person who carries emotional labor for others. You stop being the person who explains your worth. Become the person who sets structure. You become the person who creates limit. You become the person who controls. You become the person who leads interactions. This shift is powerful. People treat you how you teach them to treat you. Emotional reactions teach chaos. Calm boundaries teach order. Once you set one calm boundary and stand by it, the dynamic changes. They may test it once, maybe twice, but when they see consistency, they stop. Not because they respect your feelings, but because they respect your structure. Consistency creates authority. Authority creates distance. Distance creates safety. You do not need to fight toxic people. You do not need to expose them. You do not need revenge. You do not need drama. You need calm structure. A calm boundary is the most powerful move because it removes their control and restores yours. Not loudly, not publicly, not emotionally, not aggressively, quietly. You feel firmly, quietly, clearly, firmly, finally. And once this happens, something inside you shifts. You feel stronger. You feel steadier. You feel calmer, you feel more grounded, you feel more in control of your life. Your nervous system relaxes, your mind clears, your energy stabilizes, your focus sharpens. You stop living in reaction mode, you start living in control mode. This is the moment toxic people lose their power over you. Not when you argue, not when you explain, not when you fight, not when you cry. But when you calmly say no and mean it. That single action rewrites the entire dynamic. And once you do it once, you realize something important. You were never weak. You were just too available. You were too emotional. You were too open. You were too giving. You were too patient. You were too tolerant. Now you are structured. Now you are clear. Now you are grounded. Now you are selective. Now you are controlled. This is where respect, where safety starts. This is where peace grows. This is where power returns. A calm boundary is not just a line you draw with others. It is a line you draw with yourself. And once you draw it, everything changes. The moment you withdraw access, the power shifts completely. Toxic people do not change because of words. They change because of consequences. They do not respect requests. They respect loss of access. They do not respond to explanations. They respond to distance. When you remove your presence, your energy, your attention, and your availability, the entire dynamic changes. Not slowly, not gradually, instantly. Access is everything. Your time is access. Your attention is access. Your emotional space is access. Your availability is access. Your responses are access. Your presence is access. When someone can reach you anytime, talk to you anytime, affect your mood anytime, and pull your energy anytime, they feel entitled to you. They feel ownership over your space. They feel control over your reactions. They feel power over your emotions. Is how disrespect grows, withdrawing access, not through anger, not through confrontation, not through drama, not through public conflict, through distance, through silence, through absence, through structure, through removal. This does not mean blocking people dramatically or making a scene. It means changing how reachable you are. It means changing how available you are. It means changing how responsive you are. It means changing how much of you they can touch. You stop replying quickly. You stop answering it. You stop engaging in you stop giving emotional reaction. You stop offering up. You stop being open to chaos. You stop making yourself not as punishment. Toxic people rely on access to function. They need your reactions. They need your attention. They need your presence. They need your emotional energy. They need your responses. They need your engagement. Without access, they lose influence. Without access, they lose leverage. Without access, they lose relevance. Distance creates clarity. When you withdraw access, your mind becomes quieter, your body becomes calmer. Your emotions stabilize, your nervous system settles, your energy returns to you. You stop feeling drained. You stop feeling tense, you stop feeling restless, you stop feeling pulled into chaos. You begin to feel control again. And here is the truth, toxic people notice this immediately. They feel the shift, they sense the distance, they feel the silence, they recognize the absence, and it unsettles them. Not because they miss you emotionally, but because they lost control. Loss of access, feeling memories maintain Ming. Loss of access feels like loss of power. They may test you, they may provoke, they may send messages, they may create drama. They may try guilt, they may try anger, they may try charm, they may try apology. They may try manipulation, they may try kindness, they may try urgency. This is the test. If you return access too fast, the cycle resets. If you respond emotionally, the system continues. If you re-engage, the power returns to them. If you stay calm and distant, the structure holds. Withdrawing access is not cruelty, it is clarity, it is self-protection. It is emotional hygiene, it is mental safety, it is personal discipline. You are not required to give your energy to anyone. You are not required to give your time to everyone. You are not required to give your presence to chaos. You are not required to give your mind to noise. You are not required to give your emotions to people who misuse them. You choose access. This is maturity. This is self-control. This is leadership over your own life. The strongest people are not the loudest. They are the most selective. They are careful with their energy. They are intentional with their presence. They are disciplined with their attention. They are structured with their time. They do not chase people. They do not argue with chaos. They do not explain their boundaries. They do not negotiate respect. They do not beg for peace. They withdraw access, and when you remove yourself from a toxic space, something powerful happens. The noise stops. The pressure fades. The tension leaves your body, the stress lifts, your breathing slows, your thoughts clear, your focus returns, your peace grows. Life becomes lighter. And something else happens too. People start treating you differently, not just the toxic ones. Everyone does. Because your energy changes, your presence changes, your availability changes, your behavior changes, your standards change. People feel when access to you is not free. People cannot disrespect what they, people cannot manipulate what they, people cannot drain what your presence, energy becomes structured and becomes stable. Your emotions, you stop living in reaction mode. You start living in control. And once this shift happens, you never go back to being easily reachable. You never go back to being over-available. You never go back to being emotionally exposed. You never go back to being open to chaos. You learn something powerful. Peace is built through distance, not confrontation. And when toxic people realize they no longer have access to you, the disrespect stops. Not because they changed, but because the system changed, the rules changed, the structure changed, the power shifted. Access is power. When you control access, you control the dynamic. And once you understand this, your life becomes quieter, stronger, and more stable. Not because, but because you be. The moment you stop explaining yourself, your life becomes calmer and your mind becomes stronger. Toxic people feed on explanations. They use your words to twist meaning. They use your reasons to create doubt. They use your honesty to manipulate. They use your openness to create. The more you explain, the more space you give them to enter your mind. The more you justify, the more control they gain over the situation. Explanations do not bring respect. They create negotiation. They turn boundaries into debates. They turn decisions into discussions. They turn clarity into confusion. Strong people do not over-explain, not because they are rude, but because they are grounded. They understand that a decision does not need permission, a boundary does not need approval, a choice does not need validation. When you explain too much, you teach people that your actions require their agreement. You teach them that your choices are open for discussion. You teach them that your boundaries are flexible. This weakens your position and strengthens their influence. Toxic people are skilled at pulling information out of you. They ask questions that sound harmless. They act confused. They pretend they want to understand. But what they are really doing is gathering details to control the situation. They are learning your emotional triggers. They are learning your weak points. They are learning your fears. They are learning where you doubt yourself. Every explanation becomes material they can use later. When you stop explaining, something powerful happens. Conversations become shorter, interactions become calmer, drama loses fuel. Conflict loses energy. You stop feeling the pressure to prove yourself. You stop feeling the urge to defend your choices. You stop feeling responsible for other people's emotions. Your mind feels lighter. Your body feels more relaxed. Your energy stops leaking. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. Calm is not fear. Calm is strength. Distance is not avoidance. Distance is structure. You do not owe everyone an explanation. You do not owe everyone clarity. You do not owe everyone your thoughts. You do not owe everyone your emotional space. When someone disrespects you and you respond with long explanations, they learn that they can push you and still keep access to your energy. When someone crosses a line and you justify your reaction, they learn that your boundaries can be negotiated. When someone causes harm and you explain how it made you feel, they learn that they can hurt you and still keep your attention. But when you stop explaining, the dynamic changes. Your actions become the message. Your silence becomes the boundary. Your distance becomes the answer. Your calm becomes the statement. Your behavior speaks louder than any words ever could. You do not need to convince anyone to respect you. Respect is not built through speech. It is built through consistency. It is built through structure. It is built through discipline. It is built through consequences. It is built through behavior. When you stop explaining, you start choosing peace over control. You stop trying to manage how people see you. You stop trying to correct their opinions. You stop trying to change their minds. You stop trying to fix their misunderstandings. You stop trying to carry their emotions. People notice this shift, they feel it. Your presence changes, your energy changes, your tone changes, your posture changes, your behavior changes. You no longer seek permission to exist as you are. You no longer seek approval for your decisions. You no longer seek understanding to feel confident. This is inner authority. Toxic people struggle with this because they lose leverage. They can no longer pull you into arguments. They can no longer drag you into emotional chaos. They can no longer trap you in endless conversations. They can no longer twist your words. They can no longer control the narrative. You protect your mind by limiting access to it. You protect your peace. You protect your energy by limiting emotional exchange. You protect your focus. This is how power. When you stop explaining, you stop bleeding energy into people who do not deserve it. You stop carrying emotional weight that is not yours. You stop managing other people's feelings. You stop carrying guilt that does not belong to you. You stop feeling responsible for their reactions. Life becomes simpler. Your mind becomes quieter. Almost steadier. Become lighter. You move with calm. You speak with intention. You respond with control. You act with clarity. And something else happens. People begin to respect you more, not because you talk more, but because you talk less. Not because you argue better, but because you argue less. Not because you explain deeper, but because you explain less. Your presence feels, your energy, your behavior feels stable. People feel structured, and structure creates. You do not need to win arguments to win your life. You do not need to prove your point to protect your peace. You do not need to be understood by everyone to be confident. You do not need agreement to be secure. Your actions are enough. Your boundaries are enough. Your silence is enough. Your distance is enough. When you stop explaining, you stop inviting chaos. When you stop explaining, you stop feeding toxicity. When you stop explaining, you stop rewarding disrespect. When you stop explaining, you stop participating in dysfunction. The real transformation begins when you stop needing validation from the outside world. When you no longer measure your worth by attention, approval, or recognition, your power becomes internal. You stop chasing praise. You stop craving applause. You stop needing confirmation. You stop depending on reactions. You start standing on your own certainty. Rises a fifth. Your confidence no longer rises and falls with opinions. Your direction no longer changes with feedback. Your identity no longer shifts with acceptance or rejection. Most people live externally. Their emotions depend on how they are treated. Their mood depends on how they are received. Their confidence depends on how they are perceived. Their value depends on how they are judged. This makes them fragile. This makes them reactive. This makes them controllable. When your sense of self comes from outside, anyone can shake it. Anyone can influence it. Anyone can disturb it. But when your value comes from within, stability forms. You become rooted. You become steady. You become grounded. You become consistent. You no longer collapse under pressure. You no longer break under criticism. You no longer chase after validation. You no longer beg for recognition. You no longer perform for acceptance. You move differently. You speak differently. You decide differently. You respond differently. Your standards rise. Your tolerance drops. Your focus sharpens. Your discipline strengthens. Your priorities become clear. Your time becomes protected. Your energy becomes selective. Your presence becomes intentional. People feel this shift. They sense your self-respect. They feel your boundaries. They notice your calm. They recognize your stability. They understand that access to you is no longer automatic. It is earned. It is respected. It is valued. Comes a correct, because alignment always removes what does not belong. You stop forcing connect. You stop chasing relate. You stop maintaining one. You stop carrying emotional. You stop holding space for disrespect. You become selective with who you allow into your life. You become intentional with what you tolerate. You become disciplined with how you invest. You become conscious of what you build. The next stage begins when you stop negotiating your standards for comfort. Most people bend, adjust, or compromise because it is easier in the moment. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They lower their boundaries to maintain convenience. They excuse betrayal to keep peace. They give their attention to anyone who asks simply because it is easier than saying no. This is a slow erosion of your value. Every small compromise teaches the world that your limits are negotiable. Every ignored boundary trains people to treat your life as optional. Every time you allow your energy to be taken freely, you reinforce the notion that your presence has no cost. Discipline in your boundaries is non-negotiable. The moment you define what is acceptable and refuse what is not, people learn the rules immediately. They sense that your energy cannot be taken lightly. They feel the weight of your attention. They notice that access to you has a price that is non-negotiable. This is not punishment or manipulation. It is simply the act of demonstrating that your life is structured, your energy is protected, and your time is finite. These are the principles that create real respect. People do not honor what they can take for free. They do not value what they can use without effort. They do not treat lightly that which is intentionally guarded. Your responses must be when someone crosses a line. A clear, calm, and consistent reaction teaches them more than hours of discussion ever could. Emotional eruptions, apologies, or attempts to justify yourself weaken your position. Silence, firm limits, and immediate consequences communicate more power than words ever will. When your actions are predictable in their consistency but firm in their stance, people quickly learn that testing you is useless. Your presence becomes intentional, your reactions are measured. Your energy becomes a form of influence, not a tool for others to manipulate. Consistency is critical. Each time you allow a breach without enforcement, you erode your authority. Each time you let someone push past your limits, you teach them that your boundaries are temporary and optional. The moment you enforce your rules calmly but firmly, the message is clear: you are not available for misuse. You are not disposable, you are not negotiable. This creates a psychological shift in everyone around you. They stop attempting to overstep, they start recognizing your worth. They begin to act in alignment with your standards because they understand that your life has structure and your time is valuable. This approach is not about anger or revenge. It is not about proving dominance. It is about control over your own life. It is about creating an environment where your energy is respected. It is about removing unnecessary friction and emotional drain caused by toxic patterns. When you consistently guard your attention, your focus, and your presence, you allow space for genuine relationships, meaningful work, and true influence. The people who matter, who are willing to meet your standards, naturally rise in your life. The rest are filtered out without conflict, without drama, without wasted energy. The ultimate principle is simple. When your limits are clear, your consequences are consistent, and your energy is non-negotiable, toxic people cannot thrive around you. They cannot manipulate you, drain you, or diminish your presence. Your life becomes a controlled environment where only the people, opportunities, and experiences aligned with your values can exist. This is not force, this is discipline, this is mastery. This is the quiet power that ensures you are respected without question, influenced without argument, and valued without compromise. Once you reach this level, the shift is permanent, your energy is protected, your mind is clear. Your standards are firm. Your life moves forward intentionally. People begin to treat you with the care that your life deserves because they know the cost of overstepping. The lesson is simple, yet profound. Respect is learned through boundaries, consistency, and control, and once it is established, it cannot be taken away.